Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So welcome back to Farming Simulator and Farmers Only Club. So starting up another year, May, late spring, is always planting for us here on the cotton farm. So going ahead and getting that work done. I've got some seeds left in that trailer, because basically I had a little too many, had to move them into some other location, so ended up working out that way just so that I could keep the larger one empty for supplies and things like that. So we ended last year, as you saw, a little over $1 million. I honestly don't think with the folks, the automation and so forth, that we're going to stay above $1 million, especially repair and all the other stuff we're going to need to do. But the automation for harvest for sure, and just even the automation for weeding as we do today's planting. So I'm just trying to get my line set, kind of the normal course of events. Let's see. Should be about there. I'm sure I'm going to have to move it some. Yep. So as always, we'll circle back around. But if you're a long-time viewer, welcome back. Thank you very much for continuing to follow along on the journey here as things progress. And the nature of this, because it's a real-time series, is sometimes it's more talking about other things that are going on, because it keeps me from doing things on the farm or skews things off, or it just gives me an opportunity to share with folks what is drawing my attention and what I'm doing. So I know last year, again, there was a good amount of that. We'll see what this year brings. Don't have anything specific because I just was here yesterday working on the selling of the fabric. Just trying to get some things going on here. But yeah, still just two of us on the server. But yeah, being in here yesterday, I had talked about kind of, what the week had been like, what had been going on, because between harvest and coming in and selling the product, there are several days that go by, 4 to 6 days, depending on when things get done in the year and so forth. But just got two of us on the server that are operating. Well, there are two of us on the server. How about that? I haven't actually looked to see if the other individual is operating. So if I peek here, they're up there, I'm down here. Everything else is not available. I mean, at one point, if you go back, we had a good portion of this server with the field sold and being used and so forth. So it's pretty empty now, but not uncommon in any of these groups. So I am now sitting, I guess, let me think through. Yeah, I'm basically a year and a quarter-ish type thing, a year and a quarter in Farmers Only Club now in real time. I was in FSN for 3, probably going on 4 years. So, definitely got a ways to go with Farmers Only Club. And it's uneventful, I suppose, is probably the thing to say. I mean, it's just as is fine with me. The server exists. I can do stuff here, and there's just not a whole lot of drama or anything happening around that, which is very, very different than the experience in FSN and kind of what ultimately drove me away from that. And it's a bit of an unfair comparison, but it's one that popped into my head immediately. But it's the same kind of point of the difference between the current political situation in the U.S., where it's challenging, if you care about things, to not think about what's going on and what's happening with the presidency and things like that relatively regularly. We're growing up for decades, and growing up and living for decades prior to these times. There wasn't a whole lot, like, if the president had, I'm addressing the nation, or I'm doing whatever, we had the State of the Union. Those would usually be the things that would drive me to think about what's going on in Washington. And other than that, people were doing their jobs and things were running and so forth. So I would think of FOC as the before times related to that, where we don't hear from leadership. There isn't a lot. I mean, the times we hear from leadership are honestly, hey, we've done a quarterly update on the servers with equipment and so forth. And here it is, and then to go download stuff and whatever. I mean, they don't even ping you with a download link or anything. It's just on the Discord, and I usually am able to tell when I go and log in, and suddenly I've got an icon in front of my server that says I'm not able to, and I'm like, oh, there must have been a update. And sure enough, I go to the particular channel in Discord where they would report those, and lo and behold, it happened in the last few days. So it's wonderful, from that standpoint, because it's like, it's here. It's an important part of what's going on in my life, and the people that are running it are doing their jobs, and that's it. Where, as opposed to FSN, would be like our current times, where there's always something. They're constantly bombarding folks with this, that, whatever. So I haven't been reading it at all because I'm not really over there. But yeah, it's almost on a daily basis. They're doing what they're calling next gen, which they've been bringing to fruition, kind of in preparation. But it's a little bit of the culmination. I don't know. I'm not going to call it a culmination because I know better. Because over there, it's again the squirrel, the shiny object, where once things get a little dull, their attention gets pulled somewhere and whatever. So, there's always been kind of this piece out there of, we're going to create this dynamic economy and whatever, and that surrounds the farming, and they're gonna do that via outside things like the web and so forth. So there's websites and this and that, and that I haven't looked at and so forth, because we would have had to send in, hey, we're interested in participating, and then like they move you to these other servers or something. It's not like I'm looking at the FSN server or anything for the website to see anything, but I'm still in the Discord. And so in the Discord, and I'm still, as far as I know, in everything, but in the Discord, Hans, the person who controls and runs that whole universe, is just pontificating a lot. Hey, we've got this. Of course, it's the typical, we've gotten people in a month early, where but hey, this probably going to have some issues. And so they've added some things, taxes. And to me, once again, where FOC is a lot of automation, if I want to buy equipment, if I want to move money and so forth. There's just things I can do on the website or commands in Discord that will do that in a few seconds. They've actually gone backwards in that regard in FSN, where now you can do almost nothing in game. They require you to go through folks for equipment purchases who will then deliver your equipment, and even for selling your crops. You basically are leaving it in your silo, and instead of having a custom silo that you took it to kind of get it to leave your map, you basically make a sale to someone, a person, a real person, and then they will get on the server and they will come get it. And again, I don't know if there's a building on the server then that they go dump it into, or they just have development commands like I have and use in some, say, the single player series. Sometimes if you have to adjust something or whatever, you're able to change what's on the map, this, that, whatever, so they can empty the trailer just with a command rather than drag it over, this, that, or whatever. Or they probably could just change the number in the silo and say, yep, I took it, and so forth. And the stated goal is, hey, this is going to create this activity, and there'll be stuff going on and whatever. But it just ends up being forced reliance on stuff and on people to be available, to be responsive, and so forth, which was always the difficulty that I had. Plus the fact that there was just constant change. Generational farming, which was what I was kind of trying to enjoy and was the last thread that was keeping me there, and then it died after I left. Well, it kind of had died before I left, but was on life support for a long time, and then eventually was like, yeah, we're not giving this enough attention, and we're just not going to progress, and we will now restart this at some point. And it took the better part of a year for them to do it, so they, I think, have just recently been having a little bit of that going on, but I have no idea if that's any better or if it's still kind of the cluster it was before. So all of that is said, farming simulator related, in that not at all looking back on this and in reflecting today and saying, this was a bad move. I wish I was still there. I honestly have sometimes had the thought of just dumping the Discord server from FSN, leaving it, and because it's by far the most noise of anything I get on my Discord connections, and it's stuff I don't need to worry about or think about. And a lot of times it's, I didn't realize, I swore I had turned it off when I was turning, but hopefully it wasn't using too much material as I was doing that. I was just focused about not clipping the truck. But, even this thought of, was this a good move, and am I enjoying my time here in Farmers Only Club? That hasn't even been floating around in my head for months. So very much that's why the analogy I provided was the one I did, because there were certainly times for most of my life where I didn't think about what the president was doing, or wonder what the president was doing, for months on end. I can't say it was years, because like I said, I was a regular viewer of the State of the Union, so at least once a year I'd have that, and once in a while there'd be some big news that would make it like, hey, this big bill passed, and so now there's this new guidance in your lives that has some relevance, to a large group of people. You know, it might not even really be impacting me, but it's always good to just keep understanding where some attention is going and so forth, so that when voting time comes around, you have a good feeling and understanding of where you're at. So yeah, I'm here, and it's just a reliable thing in the background of my life that works well and does a good job and so forth. And like I said, even with FS25 coming out, there's been like one, maybe two announcements here in Farmers Only Club of this is kind of what we're thinking about when it starts up, and that's been it. It's not like, hey, we're getting close, we're doing this, we're doing whatever. And so it's just really a different philosophy around the things where, like it or not, and again, there's some parallels between the cast of characters that we have, again, in our current political environment, and without getting entirely political, I mean, I kind of go there just because that's the nature of having any conversation around that. There's one particular character that sucks up the oxygen and so forth, and does so to sell trading cards and all the other things that is really the point of his existence. And that is how I've always felt about FSN. It's always give, 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 give. And that still is very much how it's operating, even with the next gen thing. Like, the caveat was, to be considered, you need to be at a donation level, blah, blah, blah. And again, that's his prerogative. It's his world. It's his creation. And, because he's doing all this stuff outside of the game, after he kind of got slapped by giants at one point because what he's claiming is some other group, like this one, may have reported him for violating the terms of the agreement and making money off of farming simulator type of things and so forth. Because it's separated, and again, people voluntarily choose to go there or whatever, it kind of goes unseen. Where, nobody's, I can't tell you, I would say probably more than half the servers in this world, or I won't call it a world, I mean, it's real, they're real servers and so forth. But in this system that is available to people to farm on, I'd say half the servers are unsponsored. There isn't this giant, I haven't even seen any things on Discord like, hey, it's been a struggle to keep things up and this, that, or whatever. And I think it's simply because there's enough folks that are giving enough, because at the end of the day, if you're really just trying to cover the operational costs and all the other involvement around it is minimal, and you don't have someone who's basically feeding their family because of the work they're doing here, which is, again, what's happening on the FSN front, there just isn't this push for, finding a way to make it seem, and the disingenuousness is also something that never sat well with me, where it's like, well, no, we're not about, you pay to play, but let's be honest, I mean, it's kind of that way because the pressure is so intense to regularly keep things going and so forth. And I can't tell you when I was there how much it was like, hey, here's the list, if these servers don't get a sponsor in 90 days, they'll be shut down. I haven't seen a server shut down. I've certainly seen a map change, and again, even when a map changes, there's nothing really that those of us who aren't there ever know. Like I talked about earlier in this series, like everybody that was here, when we had a server that had whatever 6 or 8 FMs on it, they've all moved to this Rocky Mountain Reserve map, which wasn't even a map when I joined FOC, and now there's 3 servers with it. So, so they've replaced other maps and this, that, and whatever. But all right, let me go to the trailer to get the liquid fertilizer, because again, at some point it might be empty, and then we can use it for water and fill all the water at once instead of doing what I'm doing with that smaller tanker. But we ended up with whatever, 30,000-40,000 of stuff in there that we couldn't fit in the little silo. So we've been filling from the tanker, because otherwise we don't have anywhere to put it. So, but all has been working to some degree, but nearly done. So yeah, at least a little bit longer. It looks like as I peek over at my recording software, looks like we're about 20 minutes in. Just about done with the one field here. I've got about an hour and a half that I have left before I need to sign off and go to real life. So we'll see if I can get done. That has been the goal, is that I am trying to come in here and get the planting done. But I do need to get the weeder moving, otherwise we definitely won't be able to do that. But I will do that offline. You know the drill, you've all seen it. How did I miss that one? Seems to do that all the time, which is odd. I mean, the GPS line is doing its thing and so forth, but sometimes it just has one little piece, or maybe that's something that has been lingering. I don't know. But we're in here planting. Nothing new planned for this year. Kind of settling into the point where I don't know that I'm going to expand any fields, so I think the farm's just going to keep on keeping on as it is. And so, just as I've always said, whether it was FSN or here, this farming for Farming Simulator, it becomes like farming in real life. I'm running the farm, I'm doing what I'm doing. You're not required to do crop rotation in FS22. That has never really returned. That was a mod in FS19, and Giants decided, we need an unneeded FS22, and so here we were, and, that's never come back. It's certainly not in any of the feature set in FS25, so if it occurs in FS25, someone would need to write it, but once again, I'm assuming that is not a small thing to write. And so, by upgrading the game, they've killed something off that was actually an enjoyable part. And for something like this, an ongoing real-time server community, it had a real impact in FSN, because we'd have lower crop yield and things like that if we didn't change. And so you had to plan out a farm using that. Here, I can plant cotton over and over and it doesn't matter. So that's what I'm doing. Because introducing fake crop rotation, when whether I do it or not literally has no impact in the game, is kind of pointless. But hey, we're going to have a couple different manufacturers or something in FS25 that haven't existed before, which is great for console players and things that don't have mods available, but everybody else had them in mods, and we were all fine. But because Giants refuses to make mods backward compatible and build a product that can do that, we're in the joyless cycle that we're in. So yes, I am a bit bitter, maybe quite a bit bitter about the situation, and it just makes it hard to be enthusiastic. So, and maybe that has a parallel to, sadly, the existence of a lot of farmers as well, where I see, not a whole lot, because again, if you're not there, it wouldn't be something that would compel people to watch the news or whatever. But when people are barely getting by on their farms, Just like any job, I think some people feel trapped and I'm stuck farming, but there's not a whole lot of enthusiasm about it. It is what it is. And yeah, it provides the livelihood. I mean, I assume to not drive yourself completely mentally unstable, you need to come to terms with it and at least be like, yep, I get to do this, and I get to see my, work for my family every day and this and that and whatever. And there's probably a lot of farmers who love it and so forth, but it just kind of is what it is. Like, we're here, we're doing it, and we kind of go, you go about your business quietly, and there's nothing, the unreality that exists in an environment like this where it's a game sim is, they have to change the platform on you or they can't survive and make money and exist. So yet somehow other companies that do provide backward compatibility and don't provide upgrades that you have to buy and whatever, somehow they're surviving. So yeah, it kind of exposes the lie of, no, we must come out with a new game every 3 years. But so again, we'll see how things play out. I enjoy doing the farming. There's nothing with that. I enjoy this process because it's definitely one of those, as the word goes, chill games that doesn't require me to think about a lot of things, and I can sit and chat and just do the work, and make some progress and earn some money and do whatever. And I like doing that, and that is what I'm doing, and I'm not sitting here pounding the table. Oh my God, I don't get to buy another farm field. Oh my God, I don't get to do whatever. But what that has an impact of is, because of the busy work, the non-value added result of pain of things I need to go through that I don't need to go through, other than this entity that controls how the world works here chooses to make me go through it, because they need to have some more money coming in, but they create a worse environment for me. Yeah, I'm just expressing my feelings, and I know there'll probably be some folks who are like, dude, if you're like that upset about it, then I guess step away from it or whatever. And I acknowledge it might not be entertaining to listen to, which is why I try to not get on that soapbox too often, although usually once a game year I do, just because it's the reality. Like, I mean, it's kind of the never-ending presence that exists over your head all the time in this. Is like, they've announced a new version and this is what's coming, and so you're kind of preparing yourself for, this is not going to be fun, but I might need to do it, and that's life. And I could sell myself on that. That's how, hey, you got to do things in farming or any job that you don't like. I get it. So anyway, I'm not going to come around and be like, yep, this all makes sense. So, because I'm pretty firmly established at this point, especially, and I'm looking forward to Microsoft Flight Simulators. I said that's coming out at a very similar time. I think there's going to be a lot more fun and excitement there than there will be. There'll be some oohs and ahs with FS25. Look at the lighting. Look at the fog. And then it'll be just like anything else, just like we have here. It will be, and it will fade into the background just like it should, because the point of the game is farming, and I've been able to do that since I joined this community in FS19. And I'd be perfectly fine today playing FS19. So, but I'm not given that choice by the game developer if I want to continue on and have anything that people are innovating on in the modding community available to me. I have to make the leap. So anyway, that is where we are at. The only other piece that has a little bit of dangling interest, Planet Coaster 2 has been announced, and I did dabble very, very briefly on the channel with Planet Coaster. I haven't been doing it in the background. It honestly has been something I have not touched in a long time. But I've always liked that roller coaster tycoon simulation and so forth. And again, that's probably one that when it comes on sale at some point, like it's not one I'm waiting for on release day. I mean, sure, I could be excited about it and do it. And the main thing they've changed there is it looks like they've added water parks. But dynamic-wise, I'm sure then it's very similar. I'm sure they've made some significant changes. And, I've watched some of the reviews, announcements, whatever, and I think I've heard some of them. But, like, big thing that jumps out at me is people have been asking for water parks, too. And, again, I'm nearby, living in Ohio. Heck, living in the United States. Cedar Point has always been the mecca of amusement parks for quite some time. Roller coaster capital of the world, yada, yada, yada. And they've got a water park as part of their environment there, too. Haven't actually ever gone to it. It's never, water parks were something, especially when my kids were younger, that we would do once in a while, but it wasn't a big portion of our entertainment existence. There was a lot of more on the amusement parks, and then, as the kids got older, moved away, whatever, when I kept up with doing that a little, more regularly, the roller coasters were what were the draw for me. I enjoyed them, so forth. We haven't gone in years and years. We may be at that point in our life where it's just like, we're not doing that anymore. Your body gets a little older, pains come in that you'd rather not have, and they linger as opposed to they're just a mild annoyance when you're in your 20s. And the threat of some sort of injury that really causes you ongoing issues gets a little more real as you get older, and you realize the physical reality we all live with, that whatever happens to you, healing is slower as you age. That's just the reality of how our bodies work and so forth. So having a back pain or a muscle strain or whatever you might have from getting on a rickety wooden coaster that bounces the heck out of you, that you laugh and joke about when you're younger, you look at a little more quite a bit more seriously when you're at the age I am as the mature simmer, and say, that was fun, but the risk reward is different now. So but anyway, so the point is, water parks, amusement parks, or roller coaster parks going together like that totally makes sense. I think it's a cool addition to what they've done. And certainly, again, it's been, as far as I know, well more than 3 years since original Planet Coaster came out. And so, yeah, it's reasonable that they'd come out with a brand new game and so forth. And, and I'm sure the water park thing really did require a bunch of new things. And, at some point, companies do need to make some kind of money. So, the other companies that do not come out with a new game, like they have other revenue streams. They're providing DLC that you will buy. They're providing a subscription cost with something like iRacing, for example. So they exist and they have income. Planet Coaster obviously has DLC that comes out once in a while, but the majority would be a new version, a new game, and this and that and whatever. Other than that, there's so that's the only thing lingering out there. But I don't know that I would give it a low, certainly under 50% chance that it's going to significantly impact anything, and it would probably be well under 25% chance that it would impact anything on the channel to a point like, oh, this is becoming really, really regular, this, that, or whatever. I think the regular things are pretty much established. Farming, trucking, golf has become kind of what the core points of my simming are, because there's compelling reasons in all of them that keep me very, very interested in keeping those things in my sim life. Planet Coaster is fun, but the scenarios get challenging to the point of overwhelmingness pretty quickly, and because then there's always something else calling at me. I didn't get terribly far. I think I did do a good amount of the scenarios, and they give you a park, very similar again to the roller coaster tycoon thing. It's like, oh, you've got this park and you've got to achieve this to get bronze, silver, gold. I think they have the same concepts, but a lot of the Planet Coaster, Planet Zoo type things were more about designing your own, building them, and I struggled with getting really comfortable and competent with the building tools. And so once again, there was never a point where it got to the point like I can create content that I feel is worth people's time to put on the channel. I mean, sure, I could just do streams and so forth of whatever the heck it is I'm doing, but I don't know that would get a lot of people. It would be exciting for a lot of people. I may do that. I mean, again, now that I'm not a super, super tiny channel, and that now there's thousands of videos out there and other things. I do think there is some value. I definitely see plenty of channels that are just gameplay channels, and heck, sometimes there's nobody even talking to you. It's just watch this, and they seem to do fine. So maybe that would be a title that would just be more of, I'm not doing anything specific. I'm just playing, and I'm just putting the footage out there if anybody wants to watch me dork around and do stuff. And so that would likely be how it comes to the channel. But initially I tried with Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo, like, hey, I'm building this, I'm doing this, and I got a couple episodes in and realized I suck at this, and I stopped and just never really got pulled back in. So those are the things that are lingering in my head. I'm kind of looking around here or there, whatever. I did pick up, because I do enjoy the Tour de France. That's kind of my fan nature of cycling. So I saw Pro Cycling Manager 2017 was 99 cents. So I'm like, you know what? That's low enough that if I barely touch it, I'm certainly not going to worry that I spent $1.06 after tax on this. So I have picked that up. I was playing with that a little bit last night. Kind of watched my first stage of my first race. Again, it might be something just to scratch the itch a little bit that I'll do here and there. But again, I don't see that is one that's going to just jam up most of my time. Maybe as I get more familiar with managing a cycling team and so forth, that will change. But right now it's just honestly overwhelming to me. Like, I don't even know how I make a decision about my equipment, this, that, whatever. Similar to kind of my dabbling in Motorsports Manager that I did a while back. It's just I'm clearly not a good race team manager. Like, that's just not something my brain can wrap itself around. And so it just tends to be that I just do poorly in those games, and that doesn't make them very fun to do. But it looks like that's a series that has had versions. They have a Pro Cycling Manager 2024 that's $40, but I'm not going to spend that kind of money. And so it was like, let me try this, and if somehow it gets me hooked enough I'll do that, because I almost went back to out of the park baseball, which was something back in like version 13 through 15 that I did a lot of. I played in an online league, and that requires like ongoing stuff that you do every 2 or 3 days in real life, because you're basically simming on a daily basis and getting a couple weeks of the baseball season done each day, and playing against real people. And it's, you can think of it as like a glorified fantasy baseball thing that you're playing with people, and it's just a cool engine that does it. So they did have Out of the Park 25 that was 50% off, because again, we're coming up. It's September, and we're heading toward World Series time, playoff time, so forth. Baseball's winding down, so they were trying to get folks, and I actually got to the point, like I had no, it's not going to get down before it didn't unfold and come down before I could do it. I'm like, am I going to be able to get moving? And I could not. Oops. I hit the 2 button along with the 3 button. The 3 button starts basically your cruise control. So I was worried I might have introduced another unintended command, but everything looks okay. And again, I lost my train of thought of what I was chatting about. I know I was talking about Cycling Manager, but I think I had kind of diverted to some other thing. But about attention and where you're doing things and whatever. So looking at, I'd also picked up Ship Graveyard Simulator, and the only reason, I should say picked up the demos. I've only looked at demos. The original one, even though there's a demo out there, it gives me an error when I try to run it. It tells me it can't find this JSON file, so that kind of became a quick, I'm done. I did a little bit of the piece on Ship Graveyard Simulator 2, and the reason I got into it was it seemed like the shipbreaker type thing, and I'm like, well, I was fascinatingly sucked in with that. Not even the same vibe, not even the same feel. Even trying to get through the tutorial was painful. I haven't removed the demo yet, but I'm darn close to it. Like, there was some torch tool, the blowtorch or whatever, the cutting torch, that I was trying to figure. I couldn't even find the spots on the little piece of the ship that it gave me to do the tutorial thing. Like, I literally ran around for, I think, 10 minutes looking in every nook and cranny, like where is somewhere I can use my torch, and couldn't find it. And again, said, forget it, I'm going to go to something else. And that's when I jumped into Cycling Manager, because I had found those two and that together. And so that's where I was at. And I guess, I don't know. I mean, I was talking about Planet Coaster. I honestly don't remember what I was talking about before suddenly I screwed up on my planter operating. So welcome to old age. Thoughts sometimes flitter away, but obviously it was also because I was just talking about something that wasn't that incredibly important. But those are the things that are around, have caught my eye, that might impact, again, how often I'm in here farming or whatever. But none of those are likely in any way at this point to do anything. So it's just more sharing as I farm what's going on in the world. And now we've added another 25 minutes to the video while I chatted about all kinds of stuff after I thought 20 minutes in I was going to wrap things up. But that is the nature of this series and how things go. This is my babble series about whatever is happening and what's on my mind and this and that. So thanks for those who stick around and listen, if anybody, and hey, if not, it's here, and I guess kind of shows, hey, maybe I throw Planet Coaster 2 stuff out and just, hey, I'm working on this scenario, and you can all laugh at me or not. And someone might watch it and someone might not. But with that, I'm going to sign off for sure here and continue getting this done, and I will see you in a bit. All right, back here next day, doing the next step in the process. If you followed along or know anything about Farming Simulator, none of this should be a surprise to you. We've planted with fertilizer. Now we're putting our second level of fertilization down to get the highest yield potential and get fertilization bonuses up to 100%. So just starting out here on this field, made one pass. It has started to rain, but that does not impact fertilization. And once again, should be able to get this done, I think, with one load of fertilizer. I think the 10,000 liters still lets me get through all the areas. I did start over on this side for a change of pace, I guess. I don't know. I just thought maybe it would be a little bit simpler, and then kind of move toward the field over there and you know, go from there, and then head up to 35, and then we're just you know, resetting to the angle then. No real logic other than just I had to come here and fill the fertilizer, and I'm like, yeah, I'm already over here, so rather than be over here and then go to 35, let's just start over here on 36. So as I've shared, I think in the first segment when we were planting, right now I'm leaning toward not expanding the farm just because we're at close to FS25, and frankly also because it doesn't seem to make a ton of sense time-wise. Right now, really kind of the driving factor of those decisions is harvest time, and that is taking like 4 or 5 hours, even with the equipment I have. And so adding more fields obviously would just increase that. You know, again, over time, potentially, if then, you know, I added more harvesters, added more fields, obviously I have more equipment, and so I've got a bigger fleet that I could attack things with. That would obviously drive things down, but I think I'd really need to, well, certainly if I added another field, I'd absolutely need at least 4 harvesters. But I think that also starts to create, if I have more harvesters than I have fields, it just creates more of the dilemma of coordination and so forth as well, because then I'm having to make sure they don't collide, like caused my massive, you know, $200,000 plus lesson in the School of Hard Knocks of Farming Simulator, where I had 2 harvesters meet and did not realize when that happens, they don't just say, oh, I'm blocked, and after a few seconds shut down. They just keep waiting, and the drivers keep getting paid, and it basically depleted my funds to 0. So you know, I know from that lesson, then let's say I, you know, bought enough harvesters that I had 2 for each field, so that literally like every field takes half the time, and I can do them all simultaneously, and you know, then you've got like this mega operation that's going gangbusters. You know, I think that would be a bit of a challenge. So I think regardless, what I would end up doing is always never exceed the number of harvesters per the number of fields I have. You know, even Lomeric that I started working for on this server when I joined FOC and was building things and so forth, he had 3 cotton harvesters and had a dozen fields. Now, once again, he didn't run cotton on all of them, but he would run cotton on, like, say, I think like 5 of them. And so, you know, definitely, you know, certainly an example that at some point you're just like, yeah, this is enough to keep things going. Yeah, because the other side of that is, too, just the output of everything else. I mean, just the volume of having enough buildings, spinneries, and so forth to do things and get things done. Because the only driver here would be certainly the spinnery doesn't take all year. Speaking of that, all right, we are still running. You can see we've still got 87,000 liters of cotton. Again, pallet outputs 20,000 liters, so we're certainly going to get one, if not two more fabric pallets out of here before we run out of cotton. But we did run out of the of cotton to produce the fabric at some point in the off season. So, well, in the season, I shouldn't say in the off season. It might have been during. I guess it would have been during the off season. I don't know. At some point, I came back in here. We had harvested, I think, in September, and so had been producing. And then when I came back in April, because I had gotten distracted with something else and not been in at all to check on things, and so had prepared the cotton to move in because I had filled out the 240,000 liters. So we do produce more cotton than the spinnery can take it at once. So we're definitely having to come back and just trying to work into that dynamic and whatever. Like, that's also been a hurdle that I've had that I'm not navigating quite well. So just all of those things really put together is like, the leaning right now is not sure. Now, that may change at some point for a myriad of reasons, I suppose. I mean, a big part of what's just sitting in my head right now as I make that statement is, as I said, we're not going to move to an FS25 server on day one. I don't think that will be a appealing option to me. I mean, unless somehow FOC just says, we're just closing all the servers and everyone has to move if you want to keep playing. I haven't seen anything that said that. That would seem rather odd and abrupt because they know there's not going to be any mods. They know we'll be waiting for things at some point, and so we would literally be on servers that just let you do base game. Now, again, I mean, that's potentially possible, and they could just be like, hey, we're all playing base game until we're not, but that's what we've become because we don't want to have a bunch of extra servers, and that may be the reality of it. I mean, I did talk about the other day, when I was getting into differences of FSN and FOC, that there's a good amount of servers here without sponsors. Well, if you suddenly add, say 25-50% more servers just to have an overlap of FS25 and FS22, there's still cost to that. And I think base servers, if you're doing things, I think they can be had for $10 a month or something is kind of what you'd need for a farming simulator server. So, even if they added, say, 10, that's $100. It's not nothing, but there may be a plan or something that they're like, yeah, we can do that and do that for 3 months, and they know what the budget is at that point, that we're $300 duplicated that will then drop away when you drop to fewer servers. Because if I recall, the origin story and so forth, is FOC started with FS22. They weren't on FS19. And so there really is not a precedent of this community moving through a farming simulator new game cycle. So we'll see how this goes, but there have been no new announcements that I've seen, short of the very general one they did many months ago when FS25 was officially announced. Like, yes, the powers that be, the people that are kind of in leadership in this community, are going to be talking about it up to the release of like how things are going to go, and at the appropriate times they'll let the community know, and they kind of provided some, at a general level, this is what we're thinking would be most likely. And they did talk about there will be servers certainly spun up relatively quickly that would be exactly that, where they've said, they'll be available, people can move to them if they want, but obviously just because of the nature of what happens in the ecosystem with the new game, it's going to be pretty much base game there, and you're not going to have a whole lot of other things going on. The biggest thing that will be interesting, because this again is one of those mods having to be redone, whatever FOC does in the background with automation of the funds transfer, this, that, and whatever, like that's clearly our own custom mods that are used for those capabilities. And then it becomes the question of, okay, how long does it even take them to get that going? And does that preclude, like, do they wait entirely and say, no, we're not releasing any servers until we have, like, the FOC specific stuff rewritten and updated? And so that will give me, honestly, the first closer view of that whole process and how that impacts a modder. Because I'll be able to tell, oh, it took them 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months. And that will also help for me to understand this decision that I think, that I disagree with for Giants, is create a new game but don't allow backward compatibility to things. Basically, trash everything that's been done on the mod side and start over every 3 years. And I don't think that's the right decision to be making, but it would certainly then add more color to me continuing to have whatever opinion I have there, because it's one of those, like, yes, if it's a situation where a modder needs a week for almost anything to change, that's a lot different than a modder needs 3 months to do it. And so then at least I understand to some degree that some of it is if we're waiting 6 months for a mod to be updated, it likely was just because the modder didn't have time, didn't have interest to look at it for 5.5 months or something. So that it's less a Giants cause thing than the modding community. But, because we already know, like, obviously the point of a modder going away or just refusing, maybe they still continue to play, but they're like, look, I built the one mod in one version of Farming Simulator, but I'm just not in that space anymore. I'm not interested in modding. I'm just playing, I'm doing whatever. And then the mods just never return. So I talked about recently how, we used to have crop rotation in the seasons module that was created, and then Giants kind of grabbed, we're going to do seasons in the base game. Well, they did, but they don't have crop rotation. So, but obviously whoever built the seasons mod with crop rotation didn't then pick up an FS22 and say, well, yeah, they have seasons, but they don't have crop rotation, and that's important enough to me that I'll add it back in. So, that never happened. And so that is forever lost in the history of Farming Simulator, that if you want that, you have to be playing Farming Simulator 19 somewhere. And you're not doing that in an online community like this. There's nobody that's still maintaining FS19 servers to do stuff like that. So at best, if you were doing a multiplayer situation, you'd be doing it on your own private server that you're paying for with friends and so forth. And that would probably be even less, I don't know about sustainable. Like, if you're just willing to pay your $10 a month for a server, like, you could do it yourself. But again, if you don't have someone playing with you, like, you don't need a server, you don't need the expense of that anyway. But so we'll see. But that's the situation. I'm going to finish up the fertilization here. Nothing else is happening of note in any space that is coming to mind. So I am going to go ahead and bid you a brief adieu, and I shall see you in a bit. Alright, I am back. So we are sitting here in December. I ended up starting to harvest and then realize that, let's see, we'll probably just take care of it this way. Couldn't actually record when I started, so I just got everything moving around so that, you know, all the AI could do its thing, and the helpers went ahead and did my harvest as always. I did ending up nose to nose with the 2 harvesters for a time. Luckily, I didn't deplete all my funds, but I probably spent, it's probably not even 100,000, because I think I was already getting close to just 1 million left anyway, but probably, you know, between 50 and 100,000, I would say I wasted, as things were head-to-head that I couldn't even get back on. So, as one might expect, based on that and the fact that I couldn't even pay attention to the AI harvesters, I never got around to turning on the recording, and so never recorded anything for harvest. So, I mean, you've certainly seen the harvest, but just wanted you aware. So, spinneries have been running, as you saw when I started up. We've still got about 130,000. I cannot, for the life of me, position the fork without, like, having to do it at the bale. It drives me crazy, honestly. We shouldn't have too many bales laying around. I'm almost positive field 36 is picked clean. You know, again, obviously I'll take a look and so forth. So we've got these 2. We may also not have anything on 35, so it may literally be this 40,000 liters. Did do the harvest in September, so we have been running for September, October, November for 3 months already, and again still have at this point, with what we know is on the fields that we just saw, 170,000 liters of cotton left to process. So but definitely what I've been poor at doing before was coming in, like, once I got things going, then I'd kind of start playing other sims and be like, yeah, I don't have to worry about it till April. So, and then I'd come in and I'd have cotton that was sitting around waiting to be thrown in, and nothing that was able to be, you know, I was behind. Nothing was processing in the spinnery. So my brain's like trying to drive, and it's difficult trying to put coherent thoughts together as I was applying the brain power there into what do I want to do. We'll see if I have the fork at the right level here. But basically we'll get this one in, and then we'll start kind of looking. I mean, we know there's nothing else on these fields because the way I drove up in the center, things would have appeared in that corner there that in theory hasn't yet updated itself, but it'll be getting there soon. Alright, let's see. Oh, look at that. Finally. I mean, it happens once in a while, so I shouldn't say never. But once again, obviously, up here, right at the edge, we would already be seeing things. I'm pretty sure I picked things up in the outcropping, if you want to call it, whatever, where the field extends further out. So yeah, for a time I was picking things up with the truck. What is happening other than the stupid lag that is ridiculous, but I don't understand. Like, if they could resolve that, that would be great. Like, somehow that the refresh of the fields goes slow enough that it doesn't chew up bandwidth, because to some degree that's what I've determined in most cases is what's going on. It's like if I'm on for a long session, I don't get a whole lot of lag later, but in the first 30 minutes or something, while this data's syncing up or whatever is going on, yeah, absolutely. And especially, you know, when I've just dropped in and just loaded into the server, you know, obviously it's not even doing anything. Alright. There have been some times I've put things down and it just hasn't taken either. But I was using the truck for a little bit and got things. I don't know that I got them fully full. I think I got to like 220 and then was like, you know, I'm full enough. I know I'm going to have to come back anyway. So as you can see, nothing appearing. So we are... I'd be very surprised if I see any bales appear here on this field, because I'm pretty sure I cleaned that off before I went over to 37. Or, you know, in that process, I knew I had something over here, and I think I ran over with my telehandler just like this and went over. So there may be some on 35, but again, I think it would just be 2 at most. Alright, there's one there. So maybe we have more than I thought. Yeah, there's another one over there. Okay. Well, maybe I'll... Whoa! I'm gonna spin myself out here. Maybe I'll go get this far one so that I can get a look-see if there's anything else. But right now, those are the ones I see. And I would think by now we'd be pretty darn close, or we'd be looking at the edge of the field. So I think if there was anything, it would appear, because it does do it outside the range. Obviously, you can see where that bale is and where the circle of croppage is, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it the circle of croppage because it sounds interesting. Someone might be like, what's croppage? But no, they probably wouldn't be. But so yeah, atmospherically, FS24, 25, I'm sorry. I was just looking at a lot of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, which is kind of FS24. But Farm Sim 25, probably this time of day we'd have some fog effect or something going on. So, you know, yeah, there'd be a little bit more interesting stuff. I mean, you know, you could say we have a little bit of haze on the hills and so forth, but it's more nearby that you get it. I will say it is an odd shadow on that bale, but maybe it's just the way the lights are positioned. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. It is what it is. But we'll have to get the other bale. You know, I'm still just getting further and further along the path of the Microsoft Flight Simulator thing. Is just so exciting, and I'm looking forward to it so much. And it just keeps pushing, sadly, Farming Simulator 25 further and further into oblivion, because it's just incredible what Microsoft is looking to deliver. I watched some videos this week. Microsoft had flown 24 content creators out to the Grand Canyon to give them a preview, including some hands-on. And so one of the folks that I really do enjoy, Squirrel, I looked at his stuff. And I am beyond excited for that. I'm slightly intrigued for Farming Simulator in contrast, so not even remotely in the same ballpark of expectations, because I know there's not really going to be anything in Farming Simulator 2025 that is going to blow me away or do anything. to truly excite me much. Because like I said, even if I had fog here this morning, it's beautiful a few times, then it's just there. So, yeah, but anyway, so I'll stick the, with keeping the Microsoft Flight Simulator stuff over there. Don't need to extend that here. I think you guys are pretty aware. I'm not terribly thrilled with having to start over with mods and this and that in 25. So we'll see what that turns into for FOC. You know, because it really is, well, it will be for me the first time, but I think it is for even this community the first time they've gone through a farming simulator update, because I believe Farmers Only Club began with FS25, so they did not exist with FS19, and so they didn't go through that transition, so I can't, like, ask any old-timers here, you know, what was that like? How did they do? So forth. Alright, but yes, at this point, this is the last bale, so that means we have 210,000, which is quite a bit. Because I think, like I said, I might have had 220 in 3-4 months. I was down to 130, so it had processed like 70,000, which is actually a little slower, because I thought it was really getting close to like 40,000 a day that it processes, but it does not appear that it is quite that fast. So the other thing I need to be aware of, and maybe while I'm in here I'm just going to go ahead just to stave off any possibility, is that I could get full on the fabric, because right now we're at like 52,000, so that means there's 2 pallets that could come out. So actually, if I just put 2 pallets on a trailer, I should be in good shape. So maybe once we get that bale, so I'll keep you with me, just so you can get that part and enjoy that part. Obviously, if you're watching the videos and you're a fan of this series, you're here to watch some farming content. So I will get my low boy, so you can see it kind of over there by the 2 blue dots, which are the small BGA thing that I was processing my hay bales with. Every once in a while in here, I do like wonder, should I sell the silo? Should I sell that? Like, there are things, you know, I've clearly settled into cotton. I was a little worried for a while. I'm like, well, I might change my mind. I might want to do some variety. And I just really haven't, because it works, and it's not like I've got a better path or something doing that. So, get ourselves here, turn off, jump in the truck. Alright, so it does turn on the trailer, so I guess we'll disconnect this here. I should be able to squeeze my way out here. Famous last words, because I'd rather not bump that trailer. But again, like the bale wagon, all of that, I mean, I have probably have hundreds of thousands of dollars of things that I would get hundreds of thousands with, of things that were for the regular crop and baling that I'm not using. So I don't know. I keep kind of wondering, and it's like it doesn't hurt to have it. Sorry, yawning away there. I guess we'll move further out here. We'll turn that off. And we will run over and pick up a couple pallets, which, you know, is all we can do at this point now that this is the problem. Now I need to get this kind of in the flat stage as opposed to a little angled, which I've done for the bales from time to time because sometimes they just keep falling off, which is frankly quite annoying when you're trying to just move along and get things done. Alright, so now that we're down here, it's not quite where I need it. Alright, let's see. So I think we're okay. Now are we okay? In theory, I mean it says 40, but I don't want to pick it up on the tips. Come on. Alright. And obviously it will refill those, I know for certain. Because again, I saw it was 52,000 something, but that will then take things down to an acceptable level. And definitely, I'm gonna grab 2 more, and then I'm pretty confident. I mean, I'll probably, you know, best laid plans, best intentions. Yes, I'm gonna come back in here. I think I can't turn as cleanly, so I think I'm too high. Drives me crazy because it's so darn close. No, I'm still not high enough. There we go. Now we'll lower. Whatever. Alright, fine. It should still be okay with just that, but it is so just barely able to grab the 2 pallets together, so it's always a bit of a dance. So now I'm just irritated and now just want to like do it again, but now problem is that one is now twisted out, so it's probably going to be even less likely to work. But yeah, it's like, okay, that's definitely on the ground. So the problem is we're so let me try that. And the problem is, yes, now I'm too high. Oh my god, it is just not gonna do it. Golly, that is just such a pain. But anyway, alright. This is good enough. I mean, I still got my extra pallets. We'll turn things off here, but that will give it the ability to output 40,000 more, and then it can store, I think, 152,000. So yeah, so it'll be able to do up to 140, because basically the pallets are, you know, 20,000 a piece. So that should be fine, because I can't imagine we're going to get more than 100 and... Because at this point, we have 120,000. So yeah, I think we're okay. So if I potentially don't get in here till April, but you know, maybe what I'll do is I'll pop in here, and if I remember, in February or sometime in March, and that way I'll know for sure in case I have to move some pallets just to not slow it down. But this would be the first year then, if I can keep everything running properly, that I'll get a real test or a response on how long does the spinnery need to run to process a year's worth of crop. So again, we harvested in September, you know, and I don't think I have to get as close enough right now, like was it September morning or September evening? I think it was really midday, if I remember correctly, but I don't frankly remember, because at this point it's been, what, almost a week ago, like 6 days, and there's been some craziness with work this week, so my head's certainly not been as clear as it might have normally been, that I might have remembered that detail. But I don't know that it's going to matter, because I'm hoping we're still going to stop some months ahead of September. I mean, again, if we're still processing in April, which I think we will be, because I think we've established that before, It might have been with an October harvest, so there's a possibility with a September harvest that we go clear, but I think I still had 2 or 3 months to go at that point when we hit the planting month of May. But that's in essence where we're at, is we're 6 months away from planting, but we're 5 months away from selling. So we'll see where we are at that point, and for now that catches you up, and I will see you in a bit. Hey everybody, I guess they say April showers bring May flowers, right? So just got in here. I hear it's still running. We're getting close. So good news is we at least do know, because there was no break. This is probably the first time we've had a break. But let me take a peek here at what the fabric is. Let's see, 20 hobos 25.85. It's pretty much right there, so we'll just do that. So I will go ahead and we'll get done what we can get done. But we are here to get this completed, and then we'll see if we get things planted tomorrow or if other things will happen. So I think I saved myself from myself. They had another thing on sale. And it was game dev. It was like a game development sim. So it was like you pretended you were a game studio starting in 1976. And it was 50% off. And it was, you know, they're claiming it's their biggest discount ever. It's intriguing, but I got too much going on. So I played it for 20 minutes. Again, it wasn't like, oh my god, this is so fun. So I kind of was like, you know, I got so many things. I've got, you know, because the other big news, this was the day you could pre-order Microsoft Flight Simulator on Steam. So it was actually available earlier if you bought direct from Microsoft. I think you could have done it a week ahead. But the only thing you get for pre-ordering is we get a firefighting plane that we can use in 2020. But given that I think you can't, like, there are no fire missions, so no, this is great. I always love when that happens. Oh, jeez, come on. Oh, it worked so nicely. I was like, oh, look how, oh my god. I think, yeah, that's the problem. I think I hit one of those buttons and didn't mean to. Alright, so let's get this. I don't know if anything else will pop out or if that is it. But, so whatever we get at this point is all we're gonna get for money. But we'll easily be over 1 million because we're at 930. But the question becomes, do I want to push my luck or not? Oh, come on, really? I guess this is like way low. Because I'm like, this should easily now get 2 of these together. And it's possible it wasn't popping out because everything was so cattywampus, as the thing used to say. We always used to say cockeyed. I don't know. Maybe that's like politically incorrect. I don't know, because you're saying cock. I have no idea. Making fun of roosters, making them all feel bad. I have no idea, but I just have not heard that phrase in a while. So cattywampus seems to be the thing. So let me wump that down there. But yes, nothing else popped out. So this is what we have. And basically, I would imagine, I'll take a quick peek again once I get this done and on the trailer and put everything away. Oh good, it's just like working forever in the wrong direction. But we'll go park ourselves over here. So the question becomes, you know, do I get something? The thing is, I don't think I'm going to be anywhere near, because really I think 38 would make the most sense. And I'm just going to get in the truck because it's raining, and why get wet, right? So what I was going to look at here, so we have, you know, we've literally 22,000. So I'm thinking by the morning that will be done. So, and we harvested, we didn't do it like September in the evening, so we did it kind of as early as we could and got things going. So we say September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. That's 9. And we're going to be going into the 10th month because it's May. And then you're going to have June, July, August, and then we're back into September. So we basically have, you know, maybe some of May, but we could say we could get 3 more months. So I think that gives me like clarity that if I wanted to, I probably could absorb another field. I mean, technically there's not a reason to not do it other than just keeping the workload reasonable, because once again, I would imagine that will be at least another hour. And again, I suppose if I had more harvesters, maybe it would be better. I don't know. Let's see where we end up. So to me, it's the biting off more than I can chew. It's like, I'm going to have Flight Simulator come in. We know at some point we're going to go to Farm Sim 25, even though I'm not at all excited. Wow, we may get closer to the 1.7. No, we're not going to get there. We're closer than I thought we would be, though. I mean, I did not think that was going to be the amount. I figured maybe 400,000, and you know, but the reality becomes, what I was going to say is, I mean, I suppose I could go a year and like have it be slightly miserable because it's a lot. All right. So again, we're going to put this over here. So get it out of the way. And then we're going to need that to pick up the bales. Either way, I don't have enough money because the field is 1.7 something. Yep. So I have to take out a loan, and then it's going to cost me even more. So no, I have to go through next year at minimum. And then we'll revisit it. We'll see how we feel. Because again, it's going to be another 12 days to get through a year. So that's going to get us into October already. And then we're literally almost a month away from Farm Simulator 25 coming out. Because again, I think it comes out on the 12th. Because I remember one was the 12th, one was the 19th. And so when Flight Simulator got released, it says, hey, pre-order for the 19th. Which I have done. I do feel Microsoft should absolutely be rewarded for what I've seen. I think I may have shared on here, but if you're at all keeping up, you know, or interested in the other Sims, I think 2024 is going to be one of the most incredible simulators we've ever seen in the consumer space. And I've not seen a whole lot in the commercial space. I don't work in those kind of industries that I would have been privy to or had the blessing of, say, seeing an actual commercial flight simulator or something other than on TV. So, no way to really compare. But that literally is the feedback I've seen from some of the content creators that were lucky enough to get flown out by Microsoft to the Grand Canyon to take a look at this thing in the last week and a half or so. And, like, hands down, I have not seen anybody that said anything remotely even, oh, I'm wondering about this, I'm worried about that. I mean, they were just effusive with praise because they were just blown away. And one of the phrases from some of the people was, this is likely, Microsoft has said, but there's like, they don't disagree. The content creator didn't disagree that this is the most complex simulator ever released to the consumer space. So the things that this thing is doing, they were talking about particles and physics and turbulence, so that they basically were showing like the rotor wash from the helicopter, and then like when a large plane takes off, and then you're like a little GA aircraft taking off at a big airport. They said, for 5 minutes, it could be 5 minutes later, and you'll still have wake turbulence, which is what happens in real life and so forth. And so all of that is tracked and so forth. So, while Farming Simulator 25 has been available for pre-order, I haven't touched it yet. Haven't pre-ordered it. Likely will not. There's nothing I'm really that excited about getting. I mean, if I do, maybe I'll buy it the day before. I think there is some piece of equipment, but it's like, who cares? I mean, I don't need every piece of equipment. I work with the 10 or whatever that I work with, and I'm fine with that. So that again is why, like, the drive of, there's 400 pieces of equipment, versus 300 or whatever it was for FS22. It carries no weight with me at all. But in any event, that's a big part of why I'm like, I think I'm just like, yeah, okay, maybe I have time now. But, and again, I think I mentioned, there's just some disruption of stuff going on at work that I just don't know what my role maybe will be, whatever. And I don't really even know when I'm going to know. I know it's going to be probably, we've been told in the next 3 to 6 months, but, it could happen next week. Who knows? I mean, I know my leader's having conversations and so forth and trying to get us more information, but right now she shared a lot of kind of what we've said we might like to do and so forth, and I guess that's at least out there for folks to consider, and hopefully they do, because obviously we've said the things we would like to do and so forth. But I talked about, at least I don't know where, if I've mentioned it here or whatever, I ended up kind of reorganizing my favorites in Steam. I've got like 30 things in the favorites, so I've got like 30 sims. I mean, some of them are like mini airways, mini motorways, mini motors, whatever, that I wouldn't really hit the channel with too much, but we've probably got at least 25, and so I think I've been saying, like, I could do an episode a month, and basically show each sim once in a month, and so there'd be 12 episodes in a whole year, and that's not terribly exciting for me or whatever. I mean, I like to do things more often than that. So yeah, I need to just stop buying stuff and whatever. And like I said, I think Microsoft Flight Simulator is just going to go crazy. I mean, I was looking at a Pilot's Life 2. That came up somewhere again, and I was like, that's kind of intriguing. And I was like, this is stupid. They've got a career mode in 24. Just wait. So yeah, I'm getting a little impatient with things and falling for the shiny new toy far more than I usually tend to do. So, point being, yeah, I did ask for the refund, and it was $8, and I was really honestly debating, like, well, for $8, you know, even if I touch it once in a blue moon, like, maybe it's worth it, but I'm sure it'll be on sale again at some point. So if and when things clear up, because, you know, even on the farming front, I haven't touched Farm Manager World in forever again, so I should probably take a look at that soon too. And Project Hospital has been even more forever, and Train Simulator has been even more forever, and I've got trains that I'm paying for on the back end that I haven't really even looked at much, other than for you know, the couple days after I decided, yeah, this is intriguing enough, I want to take a look at it. And you know, and again, I'm using the lowest version of it, so it's not costing me a ton. I think it's like $60 for the year, so it's not too bad. But you know, like I said, I've got plenty. So while it was an intriguing concept and it caught my attention, you know, because it was a game from 2021, but you know, and it's just one developer, and they're still actively putting new stuff out. That was partially why they had a sale. They did some bankers update to it, so you could get loans and whatever and keep your company afloat, and or decide that they're going to tell you, hey, sorry, we're not loaning you any money, you got to sell off. And so I'm like, well, it's different. It's a different kind of sim. Let's look at it. It looks kind of fun and nostalgic. And like I said, I did 20 minutes. It's intriguing, but it's honestly kind of dull. You basically just set like your coding goals, and then you just watch him type on the keyboard. You know, and I hadn't even gotten past the point where, you know, I had more than me working out of my home. So, and I'm like, all it's going to be is more people typing at their keyboard, and sure, it's going to be interesting, but I have another kind of business sim that is in my wish list that I'm waiting to be released, that I think is going to be obviously newer, more modern, and far more intriguing. So I think that'll scratch that itch, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. So that's a lot of what has been going on, but we are getting closer every day. So, but right now, 1.6 million. I think that's the highest I've ever had here in Farmers Only Club. So that's pretty good, pretty exciting. Obviously, you know, that'll go down. I don't think I have to buy any supplies. I think I'm all set. Oh, speaking of, let me look and see if I've got any kind of lime that needs to happen, because actually I'm almost positive I do. Alright, so yes, this is going to make life difficult, because I have to lime those fields before I plant them. I keep like running into that problem, because you used to be able to in FS, well, I think you can do it in FS22 with precision farming too, but since we don't have that, basically I tried to lime after, like right after I had planted, and it wouldn't take at all. So I need to get those fields done. I was going to go play a round of golf, but maybe I will. It's too late to start liming. It's too late to do anything. So anyway, I'll figure it out, but I'm going to have to lime. We'll do that in... I'll probably just do it offline to not try to record anything or whatever. You know what liming is like. But then that will either pull back the harvest to or the planting to another day, or make for a really crazy day tomorrow where all I'm doing is Farming Simulator, which was not the plan. So, but it is what it is. The farm has demands, but this gets the year done. We're, you know, obviously in excellent shape, and it's just more, where is the next 3-4 months going to take us? So we'll see how everything goes. But with that, glad the year is over, and we've got another one in the books. And again, pretty successful. And actually now we know it takes basically 9-10 months with the fields we have to process the cotton we get off of these. So That's good to know. That's a data point we've been looking for a while, and I've just always been screwing up on my schedule, but this time I did not, so we know that. So if you have enjoyed this and haven't dropped a like, or you are not a subscriber, please consider those things, and I will see you next time.